What's up, everybody? Getting a little stretched before we go. Open mic just turned into me and Jay tonight. That's all right. Jay, we'll always bullshit. How are you?
Oh, all the time. I love the bullshit all the time. It's one of the things I look forward to every single week.
Right? Yeah. So just want to keep everyone up to date. Rich is finally home from the hospital. A little worn out for the show today.
Yeah, get
He's
well,
home,
Rich.
but he's home, and that's the bottom line.
Yep. And I decided to do something a little bit different tonight, Adam. Instead of donning my Dodgers hat or my Packers hat, I decided to go full on LA Kings, baby. Bring on those Kings.
Jay, that's the one sport I'm very behind in this year because my Penguins are iffy.
Well, I'm feeling a little optimistic about the Kings. Heading into this weekend, we were 20-10 on the season, and Quentin Byfield's been one of their best players. So I've quickly become a Quentin Byfield fan. So hopefully we can keep it up. We'll see how it goes.
I've always been a Kopitar fan.
Yeah.
I always liked Kelly Rudy.
Oh,
Whenever he played
yeah.
for the Kings back in the day.
Yep.
Obviously,
Well,
I've been a goalie guy. Jonathan Quick, obviously.
oh yeah, Quick was great. Yeah, obviously when I grew up watching Gretzky in his heyday with the Kings after he came over from the Oilers, and but I also was a big Rob Blake fan. Also was a big Luke Robitaille fan. And you mentioned Kelly Rudy. I'm also going to mention a guy that we used to make fun of in LA, Marty McSorley. We used to call him Marty McCash because that's all he ever wanted to play for. But he had his moments where he was a good player too for the Kings. So McSorley, Rudy, Blake, Robitaille, Gretzky. Yeah, grew up watching them all.
McSorley also wore the black and gold jersey in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, in fact, I think McSorley was probably a better player with your Penguins than he was with the Kings. That's just going off what I remember.
Didn't he go a full out hack with the Kings and swing his stick at that guy?
Yeah, he did. In fact, I want to say that was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say that game was against.
I don't remember who, Jay. So I'm gonna draw blanks.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank too. I wanted to say it came against Vancouver against Trevor Linden of the Canucks, but I mean that was so far back. I'm drawing a blank too, man.
Right. I just remember he did something dumb.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he did a lot of things dumb, but hey, such is the way.
Oh man. So did you ever do the trip down to watch Gretzky play at the Kings?
Oh yeah, many times. I watched a lot of Kings games when they played at the Great Western Forum, and let me tell you, when Gretzky got to the Kings, very quickly those hockey games became very tough tickets to purchase because before he got there, when the Kings were owned by Jack Kent Cooke, they were, quite frankly, it was like a minor league team was there. I mean, it was very easy to go to a Kings game. They really didn't have any they had some good players, but not of the caliber of Wayne Gretzky. And then when he signed with the Kings after he left Edmonton, it became a whole different ball.
Wasn't that a trade, Jay? Wasn't that a trade?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, when he was traded from the Oilers. I'm sorry, my bad. My hockey history is not as good as my baseball or my football history.
So you're good. I just needed the refresh.
Yeah. So you're right.
I can tell you another team that wasn't very good till that 66 guy arrived.
No, but
yeah, that guy definitely saved the town. Then he saved the team. Unfortunately, you still need those core players around him. Obviously, they went out and made all the trades and got all the right pieces in the prospect, and it worked. I mean, it took 8 years, but it worked. 6 years. I'm sorry, 6.
Yeah,
84 to 90. But it was promising.
Yep. In fact, I remember. I think it was in 91 or 92. I saw a game at the Forum where the Kings had played Quebec, and this was before the Nordiques moved.
Was this Joe Sakic days?
Yeah, this was back in the Joe Sakic days. I think in that game at the Forum, Gretzky had 3 goals, had a hat trick, one of many that he had in his career. and the Kings beat the Nordiques that day 4-1. And like I said, Gretzky had 3 of the Kings' 4 goals. The 4th goal came actually by Rob Blake on an assist. So that was like one of the best hockey games I saw Gretzky playing. So, but that takes me back a ways.
No, you were live. I mean, you were there. You witnessed it.
Yeah, I was way up in the nosebleeds, but I was there. I witnessed it.
Hey, you were there. That's all that counts.
I was, man. I was there.
But were the nosebleeds really that bad? I remember sitting in the nosebleeds at the Civic Arena, and honestly, it was one of the best seats in the house.
So, good question. At the Forum, the nosebleeds actually weren't that bad because even though the Forum was a big arena, it's not like what Crypto.com, which used to be Staples Center is now. Because Staples Center is like a big 3-story arena, but the Great Western Forum, while it had layers to it, you had great vantage points from regardless of where you sat. So even though I was up in the very top row of seats, I mean, I was so far up I could almost grab the Lakers championship banners and touch their jerseys that they had retired. But still, it was a great seat to watch the game. So yeah, it didn't really constitute being the nosebleeds, but it was still a good venue to watch hockey games.
I remember going with my grandfather, rest his soul. He would always say, "Get them fucking nosebleed seats because they're the best seats in the house." And mind you, he was in his 80s, and we're trying to go to the game, and he's trying to walk up all these stairs. There was no elevator, but that's where he wanted to sit, and I thought they were great seats.
Yeah, well, and same thing with the Forum too. That's where all the diehard radical crazy fans would sit, not just the drunkards, mind you. You'd have moms and dads showing up there with their parents, getting all into the games and everything. So that was being way up top was the place to sit there in the Forum, not only for the Kings but for the Lakers too.
I liked it because you could hear I know during obviously we don't have baseball, but I mean basketball. But I remember you could hear them talking on the ice all the way up top, a lot clearer than you could at the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah, the Forum not so much so because when everybody was really loud in the Forum, obviously the sound didn't travel as well from the playing surface. But
well, my son's getting involved in the conversation tonight.
Nosebleed seats at the Tim McGraw concert. I love it.
I don't know where he was for that concert. Obviously, I wasn't there. But Josh, where were you sitting, buddy? I mean, what venue we're at? Yeah, I guess he's still at my mom's, so
okay.
Watch. Yeah, I miss the Civic Arena. I miss them old venues. They were just better environment. I know they were horrible and not very accommodating, but they were better for the game.
Yeah, and I feel the same way about the Forum too, because I've seen a few Kings games at the Forum or at Staples Center, and obviously saw a lot of Lakers games being a Lakers fan, but still there was something about those older venues that you're just talking about, Adam, where you felt like you were part of the action. Regardless of where you sat, you felt like you were part of the action. There was a certain nostalgia to it, and the Forum was built for sporting events like hockey and basketball. I mean, for concerts and stuff too, they were great for concerts. I remember seeing Bruce Springsteen there in '93, but they were just great for those types of sporting events. And so you had all the fans getting into it. You didn't have to worry about, all the glitz and glamour that comes with all the games nowadays, with all the strobe lights going off and pyrotechnics and everything. It was just a good place to go watch LA Kings hockey or LA Lakers basketball. Don't mention the Clippers because, well, we just don't mention the Clippers. So, but anyway, so yeah, I'm like you. And, I kind of feel the same way about Dodger Stadium in a way, because even though Dodger Stadium's been renovated over the years, it's retained much of its charm. It's still not the same Dodger Stadium I grew up with as a kid that had the blue and red seats in the left field and right field pavilions. And
is that where the Cardinals play their basketball?
I'm sorry?
Is that where the Wildcats play, Central Bank?
I think so. Excuse me for a second. I'll be right back. My dog wants outside. Sorry, guys.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Lexington with Josh was at Kentucky. I don't know if there is another Lexington.
Oh yeah, University of Kentucky basketball.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think she's right.
Yes, correct. Hey. What's up, Charles?
What's going on?
Nothing, man. Jay, we got it. We're talking about old stadiums right now, Charles. We're talking about how they have a better feel for the game. Not really the accommodations for the fans, but for the game watching purposes, that was kind of where the topic was going. Have you been in any older stadiums that you miss?
Are we talking about baseball or football?
Either, whatever.
Any sport.
Yeah, I'm on live now. I think
are we gonna get the wife to make another grand appearance tonight, Charles?
No, the wife is not going to make another grand appearance. She's not going to make another grand appearance. Old stadiums in baseball, I think are like there were very few bad old ones in baseball, like Municipal Stadium in Cleveland, which is terrible.
The Mistake by the Lake.
Yeah, like Fulton County was terrible. But even like some of the older ones, like Three Rivers was kind of cool. Like Riverfront was kind of cool. It reflected the era, baseball more than any other sport, as far as that goes. Basketball really not as much. Maybe Boston Garden. That was really the only one where I could think of where the building itself really kind of reflected the times. But most of them were nondescript. But in football, stadiums are kind of stadiums. I'm not really. Arrowhead is really the only one I could really think of. That's with that ambiance. Maybe Seattle. I've always kind of liked that one. That was kind of it. But even Pittsburgh is not. It's more the fans than it is like the stadium and the acoustics and all of that stuff.
You mean, yeah, I preferred Three River Stadium definitely. Just because I loved Three River Stadium, just because they had the aluminum seats and you could pound on them and make extra noise. Unlike Heinz Field or Acrisure, whatever it is these days, but Three River Stadium was just, and it was baseball too, so you had that feel. Now I felt bad for them because it felt like they were playing on concrete. It wasn't really any turf at all. That's just something missed too. Like imagine if they would have been able to get real grass on like some of these older stadiums. Might have they lasted longer if they would have figured out a way to get grass.
I don't think people know how dangerous that AstroTurf was. If you ever played football on that AstroTurf, living in Baltimore, like Johns Hopkins University, I lived like a few minutes away from there. Like just we thought we were cool trying to play a pickup game on the AstroTurf, on Homewood Field, and that lasted not long, bro. That was cement. Basically, those guys were always playing on. That wasn't nothing.
Are there any fields that are any better? Like with AstroTurf, has it come a long way, or is it still bad for everything?
Is the turf now better? Absolutely. It's not as safe as real grass, as hard as they've tried. I think for especially domes, the turf now is much, much safer in like Detroit, Minnesota, cities where you have those domes than that AstroTurf was. That AstroTurf was not great. But like if you have a stadium, real grass is much, much, much safer, I think, for the players. But that AstroTurf, I'm talking about like from the 80s and 70s and all that. I mean, we're talking about
the great Astrodome. Is that what we're talking? The Astrodome
and that stuff.
Maybe the Kingdome too.
Oh,
maybe the Silver Dome.
Olympic Stadium in Montreal.
Oh,
Olympic Stadium, right?
That's where the Expos used to play. Yeah.
Okay. I'll do you one worse, like Exhibition Stadium in Toronto.
That
was awful. Flat out awful for baseball. I mean, it looked. Oh gosh, I don't even know how to describe it. Like I never seen a fence like that. Like it was a football stadium that, like, wow, that was bad.
Oh man. What about game? Like, have you been to the Boston Garden? You mentioned that place, Rob. We were more talking about places we've actually been.
Places I've been.
That like yes, like with the like we were talking about how like Civic Arena in the old Forum, how you could sit up high, and they were actually better seats than down low because you could see everything, you could hear everything. That's what we were.
The Baltimore Arena, of course. They're calling it First Mariner Arena. I think Roll Farms Arena. They've had several names. Civic Center. I've been there like a zillion times. Every arena, DC, like Cap Center, they used to have. US Air Arena, they used to call it. The current one, MCI Center, I think it's. I don't even know what they're calling it now. I've been there several times.
Is that where the Capitals play?
Capitals and Wizards are. Yeah, I've been there.
I've been to that. I've watched the Capitals game there.
Been to Burr Stadium in Terps. I've done that many times. That hasn't really changed at all in all years. I think that's gotten pretty old. Been to Canton Stadium, Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. I think I did that. I went out there for the Hall of Fame, so I've been there for a Hall of Fame game. I done a lot of minor league baseball in more recent years. I've been really interested in that. A lot of minor league stadiums, the Frederick, Hagerstown, Maryland, the Norfolk. I think I've done a couple. I think I've done a couple of those. Trying to think of a long one I did, a long stadium trip. Buffalo one time. I went to Buffalo one time. They were calling it Rich Stadium at the time. Brother went out there.
Bison? Are they the Bison?
No, the Bill Stadium.
Oh, the Bills. You went to
the college, Park. Yeah, that's the Bison. But yeah, Orchard Park, yeah.
Bill Stadium used to be called Rich Stadium back in the days of Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, all those guys.
That's about when that was, like in the 90s. Like, I think it was right after those guys had just gotten out. I think it was like early 2000, something like that.
So you grew up in Baltimore. So who was your team? You didn't have a team yet.
No, we didn't. And I'm glad you even noticed that. A lot of people don't even wear. We didn't. One of the reasons why I was more of a baseball guy is like I grew up my whole life with baseball. We didn't have a team, like especially if you're my age, from 83 to like 96, there was no team we had. Baltimoreans, and I think I mentioned this, aren't DC people necessarily. So we don't necessarily just follow the DC teams like people think. At least I never did. So there were teams like there's a lot of like my brother is a Steeler fan. You know, he was because we didn't have a team for so many years. There are some that were Raiders. My dad was a Raiders fan. There was a lot of gravitated to different teams, but there wasn't a team.
If this matchup does happen, the Ravens and the Steelers in the week 1, are we going to get your brother on for this show?
I do not want my brother on my channel. We do not need to hear from him in terms of that. He's good for the old school discussion you guys have. If you want to talk for 35 minutes about Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier and Len Swan and all that and Bradshaw, he's all for that. That time of conversation, he'd love to talk to you guys about that. Who's on the field now, he'd have no idea. But that was still, Oh my God!
I watched a podcast short today on Ben Roethlisberger, and he was talking about the matchup, like the early Ravens Steelers matchups, and how much he looked forward to playing it, and just how much he got beat up, and like he smiled like when Ed Reed or Ray Lewis wasn't in the game, but he was like, this game doesn't have the same feel as it does with them in the game. So it was kind of like a love-hate thing. Like, I hate to see you miss the game, but I love to see you miss the game. And I'm sure it was the same way from your side. Like, if Ben was out or Hines or Antonio Brown or, I'm sure it's the same way on both sides.
I used to absolutely feel that way. Like when there was a couple times, especially later in his career, Ben Roethlisberger missed the game, didn't play, and it's like, man, this one don't count as much, man. This ain't this is not as good.
Was that the
the
court?
Steelers- Go
Was
ahead.
that the game with Beacons anyway?
I'm thinking about the game too. They had who was that? I don't want to say it was not Cordell in the game. It was Dixon.
Charlie Batch.
Dixon was in the game one at a time.
Dixon.
Dennis Dixon, I think it was.
He was your quarterback for a while too, wasn't he?
I don't think he was on the Ravens. I think we had Cordell. I know we had that.
I thought Dixon came there too. I don't know why. I could be wrong.
The two franchises are just mirror images of each other. In every, I think that's what makes the Steelers-Ravens rivalry so. They're so similar in a lot of ways. They both drive their fan bases because they're so level-headed. So it's their mirror images of each other. That's why the games are so close. Nowadays.
Is Jeremy gonna break his TV here, Jay? I think they just scored again.
Let's see. Let's take a look. It's Niners 21, Lions 13.
Isaac Guerrero just scored, I believe, from Brock Purdy.
Oh, he did?
I think so. Yeah.
I think I can probably hear Jeremy scream all the way out here in California, so I think you're right.
I don't think the Lions need this game either. So I think I wouldn't be shocked.
Why don't you think
Huh?
Why don't you think they need this game?
Because if they lose, they're still in that. They still got to win next week anyway in that showdown, regardless of the outcome of this. So they don't. I'm sure they like to get it, but that doesn't change anything next week. They have to win next week to get the number one seed. So
Charles, I tend to agree with you because I think home field advantage in the playoffs means diddly squat anymore. I think it doesn't matter if you have home field advantage or not. I mean, teams get upset every year in the playoffs. So even if Detroit wins tonight, presumably still trying to win for the best record in the NFC and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Detroit's a tough team at home, but there's no saying that Minnesota's going to beat them at home or somebody else will. So home field advantage, to me, at least, doesn't mean quite as much as what it used to way back in the day, 20, 30 years ago.
I think the bye matters, though. That's more what's important in that game.
Very true.
Not as much the number one seed, which is fine much, but you're the only team with a bye, so you're already in the divisional round if they win next week. That matters.
But even that bye can be problematic because if teams get too much rest, which is good for them because they can,
I can tell you a team that's going to get too much rest. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Their starters might not play another game for 3 weeks.
Right.
And playing on Wednesday of Christmas gives them 10 days off until the Sunday.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you put another week with the bye and another week. That's almost 22 days off.
Good. More rest, the better.
Granted, it's the Chiefs, and they seem to pull it together, but that's still a long time off from taking hits and getting beat up. I mean, it's kind of like coming off of preseason.
I don't think a veteran team like them is going to bother them as much. They've been, how many times they've been to the Super Bowl? They're older, got guys older. I don't think it matters. I think for a younger team, what didn't help the Ravens last year at all. I think you're right. I think it definitely they were a little off center. Certainly when they had it in 2019, that was clear. It hurt. They didn't play well. Tennessee just break the brakes off of them.
Derrick Henry kind of ran all over you.
Oh, it ain't no maybe to it. I think that's why they try hard to get Henry because he was destroying them in the play.
Derrick Henry runs over everybody.
Oh yeah.
Well, he finally had his first over 100-yard game against the Steelers his whole career last game.
Really? Do tell.
I didn't know that.
The Steelers held him to 85 yards averaged every time we played him until last week. 2 weeks now. That's a little like Rev, you were just saying like they play together the same way, these two teams. I think if the Ravens opened it up, I think they would kick the living shit out of the Steelers every time. And I'm a Steelers fan, but I think if they opened it up like they can, I think the Steelers would be in real trouble.
The Steelers defense does very well against Lamar. They do very well.
I know that, but it seems like
they didn't before. I mean, I think they've kind of figured out that they need to run the football and be physical up front. They can't. Lamar cannot take those DNs, those outside linebackers, Watt and Highsmith. He has a lot of trouble with them. That's why it looks so ugly every time they play. They figured it out in this game. They ran the ball. They gave it to Derrick Henry more.
That's what you paid him all the money for.
Yeah. I think in theory that's right, but I don't know. I think they should beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, on offense is just pedestrian. They just don't have great playmakers on that side of the ball. I think their defense is pretty good, but not outstanding. Not enough to overcome it. I think they're about where they should be, like playoff, first round. Might get to the divisional round. I think that's about right.
Jay, whenever you look at your Cowboys schedule, what teams do you look at the most? I mean, your Packers schedule. Jesus Christ. I know your wife's a Cowboys fan. I don't know. What games do you look at the most whenever you look at the schedule? Like what like I always look at the Ravens game as the game that, even though it's not as competitive and beat up as it was, like fun in the early 2000s, it's still a good game to watch. But what game do you look at the most on your schedule?
Well, there's two teams I look at the most on my schedule for being a Packers fan. One of those obviously is the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, regardless of whether they're good or bad, they always seem to give us tough games here and there. And we'll have a couple years and maybe we blow them out 31-3. But by and large, they tend to present a lot of problems for us. And then also San Francisco 49ers. Whether we play them in the playoffs or not, the 49ers always seem to give us some fits too. So I draw circles around both of those teams in the schedule. And I also look to see if we're playing them early in the season or later in the season, because I like to see them play those teams later in the season, just so that way we can judge ourselves based on how good we are going into the playoffs. And I got to tell you, it wasn't pretty with my Packers yesterday when we lost to the Vikings by 2. At least we came back and made a game of it. But the Niners, the Vikings are the two teams I look forward to the most. I'd say the third team I look forward to the most, that Green Bay plays a lot. I'd say Chicago. I'd say the Bears.
Really?
Obviously, the history there, the rivalry there. And we're playing Chicago this coming weekend in Green Bay to end the regular season. So, that could potentially be a trap game for them, but I don't think it will. I don't think Matt LaFleur will let them sleep on that one. So definitely Minnesota, definitely San Francisco, and even Chicago. Those seem to be the three games of the three teams I look forward to the most.
Brad, what games do you look forward to?
I think it varies depending on where you're at in teams. I think absolutely the Steelers for me. I think that's a 1, 2, and 3. No matter what we're doing, what are the Steelers doing? So that's 1, 2, and 3. I think a lot of Raven fans nowadays wouldn't say the Steelers. They would say Bengals. They've had so much trouble against Cincinnati, so I think a lot of them have that Bengals hate as well. Not me so much, but for me, the other two are the Chiefs more in recent years. That's definitely one you got to really look out for. It used to be New England for me, like when they had Brady, especially all those years, because New England was the standard. But those would be the two I would say, like Steelers, Chiefs, Bengals.
Nice. So do you think that, Jay, obviously your team's in, right? The Packs are in, right?
Yeah, Packers are in the playoffs. As of today, if the playoffs were to start today, they would actually be the number 7 seed in the NFC with an 11-5 record. That's if the playoffs started today.
Rab, would you rather have the division or no? You can go play Houston again.
The division. I don't think it matters. I think they'll beat whoever it is in the wild card round, whether it's Denver, Cincinnati, Pitt, the Chargers. I don't think that matters. The two teams you're really worried about are Buffalo and KC. That's the separation there. So I don't think it matters as well. Buffalo, I think Houston has an outside shot. Houston has no shot to beat the Ravens. Denver has no shot to beat the Ravens. Miami definitely doesn't. Bengals, I think, have a better shot, frankly, because of the familiarity if they get in, but I don't know if they'll get in.
Dude, the Bengals get in. They're going to be the hottest team in this playoff.
Well, next to the Rams.
What? The who?
The Rams. Ever since the Rams started 1-4, they've gone 8-2. They're the hottest team in the NFL right now. And but the Bengals too. The Bengals are hot as well. The Bengals didn't start out so well. They came back and they're knocking on the playoff door as well. And I was just going to say, Rav, if the Bengals get in, I don't know if you want to play Joe Burrow in the playoffs. Do you, with the way he's been playing the last 7 or 8 games?
Burrow starts slow. This is a theme now. Every year they're 9-8 chasing the playoffs because you're starting out 1-4. Where is this from week 1? Like, that's the reason why they're fighting to get in. He's got they're talking about him even MVP, but because he's got so many yards passing. But where was this for the first 6 weeks? You get your teams you might miss the playoffs because of that.
You bring up a very good point. It's like we all knew the Bengals were a good team, and we were wondering, well, how come they got off to another slow start? And now we're seeing just how good they are. And all I got to say is T. Higgins, someone pay the man. The guy had 15 catches for 130 some odd yards and 3 touchdowns. It's like, come on. If Mike Brown still owns that team, pull out the wallet, Mike Brown's family, pay the man already. You know, Burrow has arguably the 2 best receivers in the league at his dispense there, and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And if the Bengals don't at least slap the franchise tag on T. Higgins and bring him back, I don't know, man.
Well, I think they already did that last year. They can't. I think they can do it again, but it gets more. I think you can franchise them twice. I think it gets more expensive the second time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it goes up another $5 million or something.
Okay, yeah, that's not feasible then.
I think the Packers are the best 7 seed I've ever seen. They that game. That game was. I mean, they have the just unfortunate of being, I think, with 2 outstanding teams in that division. The Packers. Jordan Love needs. I would say the only thing with Jordan Love I'm seeing is he needs that run game, like in Sam Darnold. I think you change the name on the jersey, and he's like right there as far as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC this year. Totally out. He's been outstanding by every metric all year.
Sam Darnold finally found a system that fits his talents. And Kevin O'Connell is known for doing some great work with quarterbacks. And I think that has benefited Darnold more than anything else. As for Jordan Love, obviously being a Packers fan, watching him play, I look at the Packers and I see that they're actually a year ahead of their development. I will say this, that their 5 losses this season are against teams with records above 500. And of those losses, we have 2 against Minnesota, 2 against Detroit, 1 against Philly, and then I don't remember who the other one is too. Those are all playoff caliber teams, which we're going to have to play somewhere down the road. So, and when you look at their losses too, they have lost primarily because Josh Jacobs has been shut down on those rare occasions. And when Josh Jacobs gets loose, that opens up everything else. That opens up Jaden Reed. That opens up Dontavian Wicks. That opens up the tight ends. So, yeah, if we're going to go far in the playoffs, we got to make sure that we're finding creative ways to keep Josh Jacobs active in the run game and maybe include him more in the passing game too.
Romeo Dobbs, I love him, man. He's tough as I don't know what, bro. He's like Hines Ward, like their hurricane. I mean, this guy, like, you can't hit it. I mean, you're not going to hit him once and take him down. He's going to run over you.
Yeah, Romeo Dobbs is frustrating. When he's on his best behavior, he is as good as anybody out there. But when he's not on his best behavior,
I think that hurt them early in the season too. His stupid outburst and got suspended for 2 games. Then he got hurt on top of it. I think that hurt. I think that hurt Jordan Love a lot.
Well, and also
him and Dobbs had that early combo. And believe me, I lost fantasy games because of Romeo Dobbs, and I'm kind of irritated.
Well, not only that, Adam, but Jaden Reed too. I think because Christian Watson spent so much time on the injured list, Jaden Reed developed into Jordan Love's most trusted receiver, in addition to Romeo Dobbs. So, and that's the thing that makes the Packers offense so unique is that they don't have that one, AKA that number one playmaker to go to, not like Joe Burrow has with T. Higgins, or not like Lamar Jackson has with, Zay Flowers, I guess.
Are you leaving out Jamar Chase?
No, I'm not. Oh, sorry. No, I'm not leaving out Jamar Chase. Of course I wouldn't leave out Jamar. I'm not going to diss Jamar that way. But the point
you just clearly did. You said Joe Burrow had T. Higgins.
Well, sorry, the 15 catches for 130 some odd yards threw me for a loop there. My bad. But no. So yeah, the Packers have a plethora of guys that don't need to be the number one guy, and so Jordan Love has that luxury of going to 2 or 3 different guys to make plays for him.
I love that.
And it's a very young core, and they're going to be together for at least another 3 years, I think, Jay.
Yeah,
so these guys can really still gel.
We have all of our young receivers locked up for at least the next 4 to 5 years. Josh Jacobs is going to be with us for the next 5 to 6 years. So yeah, we've got the core of our offense and our offensive line locked up for the long term. So yeah, and like I said, I think we're a year ahead of our development. Green Bay showed flashes last season. We weren't supposed to be this good, this quick this season, but we are. It does give me a little concern as how we're going to be next year, but I'm not worried about that now. I'm just worried about how we do in the playoffs this season.
If they got to play Philly in the first round, that's going to be, Philly. But I'm not sure Philly wins that game.
Rematch, especially without week 1,
especially without Hurts in the injury. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, okay, we need Quay Walker. We know our full linebacker core healthy if we're going to defeat the Eagles and Saquon. We need to have Quay Walker completely healthy, Isaiah McDuffie healthy, Edgerrin Cooper, who's turning into a stud, by the way. And Jair Alexander, I don't care about him as cornerback anymore. The guy spends more time on the injured list than he does on the actual roster. He talks trash, but he can't back it up because he can't stay on the field. Right. We need those 3 linebackers on the field at the same time, and we also need to generate more of a consistent pass rush. If we do that and we end up playing Philly, yeah, sure, we stand a pretty good chance of beating them, especially since we don't know what Jalen Hurts or Kenny Pickett's health is going to be like going into the playoffs with their concussions and their rib injuries. So we just don't know.
Yeah, tell the Hurricane. Go ahead and tell him about Kenny Pickett, man.
Oh,
I'll let him take it away, man. I don't see it if he's got to play.
I think everyone saw it whenever he held onto that ball and went down.
That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. That was butt fumble 2024, man.
Oh, butt fumble.
That's what it looked like. He threw the ball and he threw it into, I don't even know what it was. I don't even know how to describe it.
I like Kenny Pickett in college. He showed flashes here in Pittsburgh. Wasn't in the right situation. If they would have let Canada just do his thing instead of getting booed out of every game, I'm sure that played a mad effect into his wanting to be here. Then Kenny Pickett just the way he left Pittsburgh is horrible. They signed Russ and he canceled practice with his wide receivers that day and walked into the office and said, "I want traded."
I don't know what you want him to do, Hurricane. Throw a parade or be happy, or I don't.
But it's just
I don't know what. Essentially Daniel Jones, pretty much gone immediately after a trade. I mean, when they don't want you, they don't want you. I understand maybe professionalism and all that, but pretty obvious to everybody they were gonna go in a different direction. So yeah, like.
And like I've been saying all year, we watched Joe Flacco die at the end of the season for the Browns last year, and I feel that's what we're doing with Russell Wilson right now.
It feels like you guys are just kind of kicking the can down the road with Russell Wilson. That's just my opinion.
You remember how Joe Flacco couldn't throw a damn ball against the Texans in the playoff game last year?
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
That's what I was referring to. The arm is starting to show its age.
Do you think Russell gets extended?
No.
I
No,
unfortunately, I live in a committed city.
Yeah, but Adam, Russell is what, 35, 36 years old? I mean, he's no spring chicken anymore. Why are you going to commit long-term money to a 35, 36-year-old quarterback?
Here's the funny thing. He's still under Denver's care for next year at $40 million.
Yes, correct.
So if we can get another lucrative contract for $135 again.
At the type of play he's giving you, though? At the type of play he's giving you?
Listen, it's the name now. It's not the product. It's the name.
That's the name.
Russell is
just like there's no team. There's no teams in Canton. It's only I.
He's going to be 37 at the end of next season. If he keep him the whole season. He's born November. He's going to be 37. He's got 15 TDs to 5 picks. I don't know what else you do if you're Pittsburgh, though, because you're not going to be – this isn't a stronger quarterback draft.
Right.
So you got Shedeur is going to go. Cam Ward's going to go. Maybe you got Milroe early. I don't even know about that one, but like I don't. What do you do if you're Pittsburgh? I mean, I don't. You could look at Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, the same type of deal.
No, you don't want Kirk Cousins if you're Pittsburgh.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's what's there. I mean, you can't. Or the other option is you could just go ahead and just put your arm around Justin Fields. Which I think is probably what they should do. That's what.
Adam, what's Pittsburgh's salary cap situation like going into next season?
I haven't even looked that far, Jay. You want me to take a glance? I mean, I will.
No, it's not a pressing issue. You don't have to. I'm just curious because, I mean, yeah, they could go willy-nilly and try and engineer some kind of trade, but, depending on what their cap situation is like,
So I have a quick random off the chart question. Is Marvin Harrison Jr. a bust?
Oh.
Ridiculous.
No, you can't say a player is a bust after just one season. And having an enigmatic quarterback like Kyler Murray throwing you the football, no, he's not a bust. No, give him
822 receiving yards, 57 receptions.
Okay.
He's fifth in receiving yards in rookies, sixth in receptions among rookies, 110 targets, which is fourth among rookies, and 7 touchdowns, which is second among rookies, which I'm sure Neighbors or Bowers I thought would have been higher. But FanDuel has Marvin Harrison Jr. as a bust.
No. I mean, if those numbers you just spit out there for Marvin Harrison Jr. constitute him being a bust, then I hate to see what his numbers would be like if he wasn't a bust. Those sound like solid first-year rookie numbers to me, especially given the team that he's playing on right now. And like I said, Kyler Murray is about as enigmatic as they come at quarterback. I mean, Murray can go out there and have a game where he throws for 350 yards and looks like the second coming of Warren Moon. And then he goes out there and looks like the second coming of Jim Druckenmiller. So, so yeah, I made that Virginia Tech reference there with Jim Druckenmiller. So, yeah,
you have to explain who that is to the audience there because they don't.
Okay, so so for those of you who don't know, Jim Druckenmiller played in college at Virginia Tech. He was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers. Never panned out as their starting quarterback. His best claim to fame in the wrong way was that he got accused of date raping some co-ed, and his nickname was Jim Druckenraper because he slipped a Mickey in her drink. And he scored more points in the hot tub than he did on the football field. So, But that's neither here nor there. What I was trying to allude to is the fact that I think Marvin Harrison Jr. put up some solid numbers. FanDuel is sick in the head for thinking he's a bust. It's his first freaking year. Give him time to blossom, for crying out loud.
I just had to throw that one out there.
I think the expectation for him was so higher than most receivers because he was so good in college.
Yeah, he was so great at Ohio State.
Numbers are not bad. I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous.
No, those are solid offensive numbers. He ranked of all the numbers Adam spit out there. He ranks.
Those are solid rookie numbers. They're not solid number one. They're not solid. They're not solid number one receiver numbers.
Okay, well, if he's supposed to have solid number one receiver numbers, then from that standpoint, he should probably have 1,500 receiving yards and 105 catches, and I don't know, 12 touchdowns. But again,
right. I think that's why FanDuel was putting him as a bust, because he is the number one receiver in Arizona.
Okay, but
even though Trey McBride can't catch touchdowns, he can catch the ball for a lot of yards.
Okay, so then, if those numbers make him a bust, then what about Brock Bowers, who had one of the most outstanding rookie seasons of any tight end in NFL history, who had two of the worst quarterbacks throwing him the football in Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, and he still had over 100 catches for over 1,000 yards. Okay, are we going to now label Brock Bowers not a bust, but are we going to label Brock Bowers now a star because he had two of the worst quarterbacks in the worst situation in Vegas throwing him the football?
Dude, Brock Bowers looks like he's 42 with the helmet off.
And he has little hair too. So you're right.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, how old is this guy?
Right?
Like, he's a rookie and he looks worse than me. Granted,
he still might get 1,000 yards. I mean, it would take a heck of a last week, but I think that's kind of insane.
What's he need? Anyone know what he needs?
He's at 822, so he would need like a monster game. He would need like 178 I think so.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Brock Bowers, Ryan. You're talking about Harrison.
Oh, Bowers is over 1,000 already.
Yeah.
So that's not a bust. That's not a bust. That's great numbers for a tight end.
But he's and he hit it right on the head. The tight end is not judged the same way as you look at like a Kelsey, like at 840, like that's a good season for a tight end. Below what he's usually done, but for his standards, but that's good for a tight end. You get 900 yards, 800 yards, 7, that's better than all the tight ends in the league, both pretty much. You're in the top 5.
And we all agree that Harrison's numbers are solid numbers for a rookie. But like Adam just alluded to, if FanDuel is judging him based on number one receiver taken in the draft numbers, then based on previous history from other number one receivers who have produced as rookies, just not to split hairs here, but sure, if that makes him a bust, that makes him a bust. But again, team he's on, quarterback he has thrown the ball to, solid numbers. We'll just leave it at that.
They're solid rookie numbers.
Yeah. Solid rookie numbers.
All right. Any baseball news, boys?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty much happy with what the Dodgers have done so far in the offseason. So I'm still convinced they're going to get Roki Sasaki. I don't think it's going to be
That's clear the pitcher, right?
That's the pitcher
the
from
next
Japan.
Japanese thing.
Yeah. There are at least half a dozen other teams out there that have a realistic shot of getting him. And this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. From what I read today, he's actually back home in Japan right now. He's going to take the weekend to decide what he's doing. This in like a multi-step process. So he's kind of like what Juan Soto did with the Mets. He wants to hear what the teams have to offer him first. Then the next step will be, whittling that list down to his primary favorites, the top 3 or top 4 teams, which will take another week. And then he'll take another week to whittle that list down to the top 2 teams, and then another week. So him and his agent are going to draw this out. This is going to go way past the new year. probably by the middle of January is when I think we'll start to hear about Roki getting serious to sign with some team. While I think he'll still end up a Dodger, he still has a realistic shot of going to the Giants, going to the Yankees. He won't go to the Blue Jays because they don't get anybody.
Any shot at the Orioles, Rav?
I think the Oriole fans are lamenting what happened with Burns still.
That was crazy.
I was honestly shocked that the D-backs dished out that much money to him, just because historically they've never spent that much money on a player before. But you know, I got to tell you, I praise Mike Elias, Rev, for the job he's done rebuilding the Orioles farm system and all these great young talented players that he has there with Gunnar Henderson and Kierstad and Adley Rutschman and those guys. I love their farm system, what they've done. But now, I mean, if I'm Mike Elias, I'm saying, okay, look, we have a young foundation in place. I'm going to my owner. I'm saying, okay, can I get a little money to spend here? It seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Mike Elias is kind of maybe scared to go to the owner and say, hey, let's dish out the money to extend a guy like Burns or go out and get somebody else. Is that a fair assessment?
You know, on Twitter today, I put on, like, what did the fans actually think of Mike Elias? It's funny you mentioned that. What did they actually think of Mike Elias? Because I'm having a hard time getting a read. He kind of says one thing and then he kind of says something else.
Right.
He kind of says he kind of revs up the fans a little bit. Well, we're going to do this. And then he kind of I don't know what quite to make of Mike Elias. Burns, I could say, I didn't ever think they were going to sign him. I didn't think they were going to sign him. I think, like, the money that would have taken, that was going to be $35 million over 7 years. So if you ever thought it wasn't going to be that, I don't think they made a real offer to Burns. A lot of fans think they did. I don't think he was ever going to sign there. I don't think Santander's definitely going to sign it. They signed O'Neill, whatever. So I didn't think they were. I don't know. What I'm looking for, is like, when are we going to sign Gunnar and Adley to a contract? That would satisfy me, because the free agency in baseball, you don't know. Once a guy gets to free agency, especially a Boris client, you don't know how it's going to go. Yankees, whatever, that's fine. But, like, what you could do right now is make an offer to Gunnar Henderson. You can make an offer to Adley Rutschman. You can make an offer to Jackson Holiday, even, for that matter. I mean, you know, go the route some of these other guys and do it. So I'm a little I don't know what exactly we're getting. When the Angeloses were there was no chance of that. There was no money. There was no. So right. I think that's some of why. But but with Rubenstein there, he's a billionaire for sure. So I don't know what to make of it, quite frankly.
Well, let me ask you this. How do you feel about Cal Ripken Jr. being part of that ownership group? Because Cal obviously is as synonymous with that franchise as Mike Schmidt is to the Phillies, Sandy Koufax is to the Dodgers, Magic Johnson to the Lakers. So how do you feel about Cal being part of that ownership group? And do you think Cal should be speaking up more about ownership, dishing out some bucks to bring in some other players?
Yeah, Cal's not going to do that.
Okay.
Cal's not going to do that. Cal does not want to. The biggest thing with that is, I'm glad to see him back. He did not like the Angelos family. He did not want to be around for them. You didn't see Cal much at all. So it's good to see Cal back in and actually do things. I think he's going to be similar, like Magic Johnson with the Lakers. He's not going to do real work. He's going to do some things, help. You know, I think, like, a free agent, it wouldn't do more sense to have Cal Ripken pick up the phone than it would, like, Mike Elias or something like that, or have Cal Ripken speak to some guys. But Cal's not going to – that's not his nature at all, to actually go ahead and do that.
Interesting.
I have no idea what the Pirates are doing.
They signed Andrew McCutchen the other day.
We're getting younger, boys. All right. He's good. Okay, he's good. But he's also 36. They signed him 3 years or something. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
He's got a DH for him, I think. I don't think he's
Right,
going to play the field at all. I think it's just going to be.
But how many people is that going to put in the stands? I didn't understand getting rid of Josh Naylor and bringing in Carlos Santana up there in Cleveland. I didn't understand this move at all. I don't know.
So I'm look.
Jake, maybe you can make a little bit of sense of that for me, because I can't. I'm still confused.
So here's the thing, okay? I'm not a Pirates fan, but Adam, you know what a big baseball fan overall and a big historian of the game I am. Right. I remember in 2014 and 2015 when the Pirates went to the playoffs, and I saw how packed to the gills PNC Park was, and they showed that town is a great sports town overall, and that the baseball fans still exist. When the Pirates went to the postseason in 14 and 15, they had a great young nucleus of players there at the time, and mixed in with some established veterans. And I see them in a similar situation.
Star Wars playing.
Yeah. Right? So, I like that.
So that's a Western movie I think they're watching in the background.
Oh, okay.
It's not Star Wars or whatever. I think
So when I look at the Pirates roster now, and I see guys like Paul Skeens and O'Neill Cruz and Ke'Bryan Hayes and Henry Davis, I see this talented group of young players that they've done a good job of scouting, recruiting, and developing. But I mean, I get my only reason for them not trying to bring in more established players is maybe they feel like they're still a year away. I don't know. But the Pirates, it feels like, have felt like they've been a year away for the last 25 to 30 years, even when they went to the postseason in 14 and 15 as wild card teams. Bottom line, Adam, as I perceive it from an outsider, I see the Pirates as having an owner who just doesn't want to spend money. He doesn't want to spend money.
We've done that.
Yeah,
I think the Pirates were the greatest dynasty in the 90s that never happened. Never happened. I mean, just think about it. If they had kept Bonds and Bonilla and a lot of those guys and Walk, and I mean, had they been able just to, Jimmy Leland, I put him in the top 5 managers of all time.
The Hall of Fame for a good reason.
I mean, he was like this. Yeah, like you said, 2015. You bring it up a little bit, you tear it down again. And even now, you talk about going to the games. Skeens is a reason to go to the games. I can tell you that. That guy is, when I saw him the first time in the College World Series, like he just blew my mind. So he's a reason to go to the games if you talk about marketing something or something like that. But yeah, you gotta, they seem committed to letting everybody go. Like once it gets expensive.
If I'm a Pirates fan, my greatest fear is that they're going to have Skeens for the next 3, 4, 5 seasons. And then when the time comes for him to get enticed by bigger money from bigger ball clubs, he's going to take it. And then when he goes, that's when the Pirates owner is going to decide to spend money. And at that time, everyone's going to say, you had your chance. You had your chance, Bob Nutting, to spend money 5, 6 years ago when you had Skeens.
Either that or we're going to do what we did with Garrett Cole and trade him.
Or even worse. And you're going to trade him and get nothing in return because the minor leaguers you get for him are going to be penny pinchers or guys that flip the grill on the weekends. So that if I'm a Pirates fan right now, and the scary part about Skeens is that he's not even at the height of his career. He's not even in the prime of his career yet, and he's already throwing the ball like he is. So this is the Pirates' chance to reach out and do something. But what it boils down to is they just have an owner who doesn't want to spend. He's still comfortable with the status quo of being a so-called small market team. At least that's how I perceive it as an outsider. And that's his primary excuse. Oh, we're a small market team, blah, blah, blah. Well, there are 2 organizations.
If you bring players in, people will come.
Yeah, exactly. And they're actually
be more motivated to go than like when the Red Sox are here, or the Orioles are here, or the Dodgers are here. To go see Shohei, to go see Gunnar, to go see anyone. The Red Sox just bring people. I don't care. It's cheaper to get, and Red Sox fans loves coming to Pittsburgh. I have no idea why. I mean, it's a great town. Don't get me wrong. It's great.
What what I'm actually looking for here is I'm going to be interested to see if Major League Baseball investigates the Pirates for not spending money, i.e., luxury tax, because there are two teams right now that are under investigation by MLB for not spending luxury tax money. One of them is the Athletics, whatever their name is now. And then the other team that's being investigated, I think it's not the Nationals. It's a team in another team in the American League. But basically, those clubs are being investigated for not spending luxury tax money. And the Pirates, like every other team, gets luxury tax money. So I'll be curious to see if MLB looks at their books and goes up to Bob Nutting and say, "Hey, Bob, we're
Yeah, but
seeing
doesn't that money have to go to international funds? Isn't that what that's for?
it's supposed to be dispersed internationally for scouting for their
So I
for
mean,
draft."
all we have to do is say we're building another building in Dominican Republic, like we did last time, to avoid the investigation.
Well, they could, but there's also a certain amount that has to be spent towards free agency as well. And there's also a certain amount that has to be put aside for if you're going to make trades too. So it has to be allocated in different ways in order to be spent properly, as I understand it best.
I just thought it had to be spent on the team somewhere, anywhere.
Oh, maybe it does. I mean, it's probably allocated to a number of different resources in a number of different departments, but yeah, it's a shame because again, there are some great baseball fans there in Pittsburgh, some good young players on that roster, and the sad thing too is that they're not far away from having 2 or 3 established veterans make that team really good. They don't necessarily need all-stars, okay? You need established veterans to make that team better. They're that close to having it done, and their owner doesn't want to spend.
I think we're still 2 or 3 bats away there, Jay. I think we're 2 to 3 bats away. We lost Chapman now. That's going to hurt us in the later half of the innings. That might take a little pressure off of Bednar, though, and maybe make him calm down, knowing his job's not in jeopardy.
Yeah, they're keeping Bednar in the closer role. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Well, like I just said, now with Chapman gone, there's no real issue, and he can kind of relax again.
Yeah. It's not just the A's, the Pirates. Baseball just has a lot of these teams have this same thought process of not spending money, and they're worried about the TV money now that's going away. So a lot of these teams don't even have that regional money anymore to actually go ahead and go about it. Some teams are going forward. The Orioles have their own network, have had it for years, whatever. But a lot of these teams, MLB is stepping in to go ahead and do it. And that was easy money for them. And they still didn't spend money in some cases, a lot of cases. So, yeah, it's just the thought process of a lot of these teams. A's made a big signing. Why? Yeah, like you said, they were getting pressure. Look, what are you doing with this money? You had they had like 8,000 people and 4,000 people out there in Oakland last year. That was just tragic what they did to Oakland. And of course, they sold out the last game. So,
well, they should have.
Yep.
They should have sold out the whole last weekend, but that's just me. But I mean, Oakland seemed to have jammed everything down everyone's throat on the last day, bringing in all the former players on the last day, which.
Well, yeah, Oakland, that's a much different situation and a bigger ball of wax. I mean, we could literally spend 2 hours talking about Oakland situation, and obviously being out here in California, I kept abreast of it a lot. But yeah, that's a entirely different animal. That's really ugly.
Well, the fans deserve better.
Oh, they did
from the owner, and they deserve a lot better from the league. The league really stuck it to the A's fans. That was just terrible. And here's the thing, right. And I know Hurricane, you got the big bucks there. Jason, I don't know you as well. You probably got $400,000 a year salary there and all that stuff. But I don't know, maybe you guys don't know this, but these games are expensive, bro. I don't care if the team sucks or not. Last time I took my family to an Orioles game, it was $400. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, that's real money. So put a product on the field, or at least care if you're gonna have that kind of money for these games, man. You guys maybe don't know that you guys got the big money. I don't know, but for me, man, that's a lot.
I don't have the good money, Rob. Jesus, I go to a game like I know my buddy's a vendor, and I get one drink off him, and I try to make it last all 8-9 innings. I'm not I try to eat before I go there, where it's a little bit cheaper.
Yeah,
I try to avoid them prices, but I mean, if I want to get a permanent sandwich in the game, I don't even know if it's worth going to even stand in the damn line because pitch clock. What are you going to miss? All of a sudden, you missed 2 innings because you wasted time getting food. Is it really worth it?
that's real money. We could go. I'm not going to go into my business, corporate entitlement, and all that stuff. But this is like, I mean, somebody got to say this is not monopoly money. That's a lot of money to be spending at these games, man.
And Jay, I know we're gonna wrap up early tonight, guys. But Jay, I know you said you got to go. But I wish it'd be cool if, like, I don't know if you guys on Sundays for Kids Day, it's Kids Day every Sunday in every ballpark.
I haven't been to a Sunday. I don't know.
No, not for the Dodgers. We're talking Major League, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, not for the Dodgers. The Dodgers
Is that because you have a winning organization, you don't need to bring people to the field?
Actually, yeah, it probably is.
But they have Kids Day here in Pittsburgh. They give them some toy jersey, whatever. But they let the kids run the bases after the game.
Yes.
And if you literally don't show up at the 5th inning to start standing in line when they open it, your kid is running dead last, and it could be up to 2 hours later because every kid in that stadium wants to run the damn bases. I think they need a different system for that. But you guys don't have that, so you guys don't know anything about it.
Well, the Dodgers have it every now and then, just not every Sunday.
Yeah.
And they have money in Los Angeles, like you said. They don't need all the 50,000 bobbleheads like they do in Baltimore and kids running the bases every chance you get and all that other stuff. They actually have people that live there that can actually buy the daggone tickets.
They actually have baseball
and a good
team
in
LA.
And a good team. You got Ohtani and all that other.
Even though Jay talks shit on them all year round.
Yeah, I love being a hypocrite of my favorite team. It's so much fucking fun.
Jay, you did see my jersey, right?
Oh, your Freddie Freeman one?
Yeah.
Yes. That'll look good on you, buddy.
I don't wear them. That's the problem.
You should wear it. Wear it more often, man.
I will.
Dodger blue looks good on you. But no, it's a nice jersey.
That's a weird thing, too. You have 2 number 5s as an MVP in the World Series. Did you know that?
Well, Freeman was one. And then
I own both the jerseys.
They're no good.
Corey.
You can throw those out.
Corey.
Oh, yeah, Corey Seager. That's right. He won the World Series MVP in 2020.
Set them on the table.
Yep.
Yeah. But hey, guys, we're going to wrap up a little early. I want you guys to hang out afterwards because I got to talk to you about something. Both of you. Sure. But hey, Rav, when is your shows this week? When are you going? And tell fans how to get you, buddy.
All right. So this week, the best of 2024 Baltimore sports is going to air tomorrow night around 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It is on Ravery Sports podcast, airing on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Rumble. So definitely we're going to do that. And the regular podcast is going to be on New Year's Day, New Year's night, around 8 o'clock. Hopefully we can get it on time New Year's night. Going to talk about college playoffs coming this week. Ravens playing.
No, we didn't even talk about college playoffs.
Yeah. We're going to talk about college playoffs. Ravens, Browns this week as well. And who are the top 20 Baltimore Orioles of all time for our baseball discussion.
That would be the only Baltimore jersey I get, number 19, McNally, because that is my last name.
Oh, okay, yeah. He might be on the list. He might be in the top.
That's why I brought him up. That's why I brought him up. But yeah, that might be the only Oriole jersey I would buy. But don't get me wrong, Gunner has me interested. I like Gunner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Jay, how do people get you, buddy?
Well, you can find my Twitter handle right there, @DodgerJason. And Rav, I'll go ahead and follow you. I've seen some of your tweets, so I'll go ahead and follow you and interact with you. But that's where you can find me, Dodger Jason, right there.
All right. You can find me on the YouTube channel, Driving to the Top Productions. You can find me on Twitter @Sports Talking It. You can get me on Driving to the Top on Twitter too. I wanted to say, everybody, have a good New Year, guys. I don't know what your plans are. Jay, obviously, if I talk to you after midnight here, I'll be talking in the past.
Right?
Anyway, stupid dad jokes.
Waka.
But anyway, guys, I just want to say have a good New Year. Rav's gonna end the season for us tomorrow night. Obviously, check in on that tomorrow, 10 o'clock, guys. If you're hanging out instead of watching the balls drop in New York, watch Rav talk about his top 20 as he disappears.
Bye.
All right, guys, have a good one. I don't know where he went.